We're going to hear briefly from our partners at Eversource Energy. Eversource operates New England's largest energy delivery system, delivering reliable energy and service to millions of electric and natural gas customers in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire. Their support, in part, has made it possible for us to come together today to discuss these issues pertinent to our communities. With us today is Steve Sullivan, President of Electric Operations for Connecticut Electric Operations for Eversource. Steve oversees operations and system maintenance in the state. He manages storm response. That'll interest a lot of people. He leads a dedicated cross-functional team tasked with addressing the needs of Connecticut customers. He's responsible for safe, reliable, everyday delivery of electricity, as well as helping to advance the state's clean energy future. Steve's going to discuss the company's approach to community support, economic development, workforce development, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So without further delay, let's give a warm welcome to Eversource Energy President Steve Sullivan. Thank you.
Welcome. Thanks, Rick. Appreciate that.
Thanks for coming.
It worked. So I couldn't see who it was, but somebody was talking about lunch. So I'll try and keep this moving. You're probably all hungry as I am. As I suspect many of you know, and as Rick just said, we are a large energy supply company. We serve 3 states in New England. We serve New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. We have over 8,000 employees that are serving over 4 million customers across those 3 states. If I just focus in on Connecticut, we have over 1.5 million customers. That's across water, gas, and electric. And we have about 3,000 Connecticut-based employees that are serving those customers. Couple of tidbits that you probably are not aware of for Eversource, though. Earlier this morning, before the scooter incident, Rick was talking about the importance of energy efficiency. And Eversource is the #1 energy efficiency provider in the whole country. We invest close to $700 million a year, each and every year in that program. It's a program where we work with homeowners, we work with businesses, we work to make their buildings and their homes more efficient. And that helps with the whole energy supply situation, but it also lowers their monthly costs. So it's a very popular program, and it's open to all of our customers. Another tidbit that you're probably not aware of is independent news organizations, very well-known ones that, in this case, we're looking at Forbes and Newsweek. When they look, again, across the entire country at large companies, Eversource consistently scores in the top tier when you're looking at just and reliable policies, policies and outcomes. And we're very, very proud of that. So equity at Eversource, it really is all about treating our customers and our communities with dignity and respect. So, you know, an example I would use for this, an economic conference, is our large infrastructure improvement projects. We have really made a concerted effort over the last couple of years. When those projects are early on in the concept stage, we're trying to get out in those communities, share our intentions of those projects, and hear that feedback, and then step back and try to incorporate that feedback into mitigation plans before we then move forward and get it too far down the road with those projects. So that's just an example of us trying to incorporate equity into our day-to-day work practices. Community support. This is a core value at Eversource. Last year, almost 5,000 employees volunteered over 20,000 hours at various community events. The largest and most well-known organizations that we support are the United Way and the Special Olympics. The United Way, as most of you know, often repurposes that support in very local areas, so we see that as kind of broad-based across all of our communities. The Special Olympics, I was lucky enough to attend 2 Special Olympics events within the last year. And if any of you have not been to a Special Olympics event, I strongly encourage you to keep your eyes open for them and try to attend those. When you see the expressions on the athletes' faces as they compete in their events, it's priceless. It's absolutely priceless. And it doubles often as a fundraiser for a very good cause. But in addition to those two large, we have many small events that we focus on, from something as simple as cleaning up parks or distributing backpacks filled with school supplies. So it's an across-the-board program. Economic development, so kind of the heart of what many folks have talked about here today, just like what we've heard earlier. We do believe in spurring economic growth across the entire region, the entire state. I did already talk about energy efficiency and what we invest in that. But quite frankly, our biggest investment is in our own infrastructure. So we clearly have very large water, gas, and electric infrastructures. We invest $3.5 billion per year modernizing, maintaining, really trying to make those infrastructures more resilient to the increasing effects of climate change. And as many of you probably know in this room, those investments, much of those turn into our property tax base. So 149 cities and towns that we serve across Connecticut, I'm sure the municipal leaders here are well aware of the fact that in the vast majority of those, we are the #1 taxpayer across most of those communities. So we're really doing our fair share to support those very important government programs and government goals. Now, in terms of diversity and inclusion, we've really been on that journey at Eversource for well over a decade, and I think we've made a lot of strides there. Equity is a newer concept for us, and as I said, we really are looking to see how do we take that concept and really incorporate it into our day-to-day work practices. I gave that brief example of our large infrastructure projects, but we're really looking, how do we do that across the board? But we are optimistic about the future, and we do provide opportunities for employees of all backgrounds, and we hold ourselves accountable. We have very aggressive diversity hiring goals, and those goals sit at the highest levels of the company. And just lastly, I'll wrap up with workforce development. So I know we've talked a couple times about moving on past COVID, but we did at Eversource experience quite a bit of retirements through the COVID period. And when we look out over the next 5 years, we can see the potential for significantly more retirements. So we really have embarked on a program of bringing new people in at the entry level and introducing them into our industry. We have a partnership with Capital Community College up in Hartford. We also have a relationship with the Naugatuck+Valley Community College, which is just down the road. These particular pictures here are of students in the Capital Community College program. So that's a certificate program. It's an 11-week program. You gain a certificate in overhead line work. Most of those graduates then come to Eversource as overhead line worker apprentices. That apprenticeship program, it takes 4.5 years to become a qualified line worker. It's a very highly technical, highly skilled position. But as the governor talked about earlier, while you're an apprentice, you're learning while you're earning. So we're very, very proud of this program. We plan on continuing it for the foreseeable future. And we think it really is a classic win-win. For the apprentices, they're able to start a career in a very vital and dynamic industry. And they're able to do that in a highly technical, highly skilled union position that really enables them the ability to be able to raise a family in the state of Connecticut. And for Eversource, it's really given us the workforce of the future that truly will mirror the communities that we serve. So it's a great program, and we're very proud of that. So again, I thank you for your time, and I thank you for your attention.